Okay, so the next one is talking about eyes in photography. The eyes are the most important aspect when taking a portrait. They're what I instinctively look at in a photo. Make sure they're in focus. If they're not, make sure there's a significant reason why.
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of rules in photography, and we always say, you want to get creative, you want to break the rules. Do not ever, do not ever break this rule.
Yeah,
If you have a portrait or a picture of a living being, whether it's a human or an animal, if their eyes are in the scene, the eyes must be tack sharp.
right. Psychologically, that's what you look at, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've given a lot of advice to novice photographers online that post their work up and they're just getting started. One of the biggest things that I see that is a common mistake that is made by novice photographers is posting their work of people and not ensuring that the eyes are absolutely 100% sharp. This is so easy to do these days that it's unforgivable when it's done. It's really easy in Lightroom or whatever editing software you're using to click a button and zoom all the way into 100% or even further to make sure that the eyes are absolutely tack sharp.
Well, they've got the software in your cameras too that follow the eyes, that they almost make it hard to not be in focus, doesn't
Right.
it?
Yeah. A lot of cameras these days have eye tracking autofocus. Now, one of the areas where this can be off a little bit is your autofocus system can have what's called back or front focusing. This was a little bit more common back in the DSLR days, and it was even more so common with third-party lenses like Tamron and Sigma and so on. Well, what would happen is you would focus on the eyes, and because of a limitation in the software or how it was set up, each and every lens is slightly different than the other. And it could be that when they were focusing on the eyes, the camera would say that it's in focus on the eyes, but it's actually focusing a little bit further forward. There's a really easy test that you can use to see if your camera is back or front focusing, and it's by using a ruler. If you lay a ruler at a 45-degree angle and then set a very shallow depth of field and focus on, let's say, the 5 and take a picture with the camera on a tripod, you can see if that 5 is really, really sharp or if it's focusing a little bit beyond the 5 or a little bit in front of the 5. That's a great way to tell if your camera is back or front focusing. And nowadays, they even have software that can train that for you. I have a system that I use by a company called Rycan, and it's called Focal or Focal, and it's a autofocus calibration system. And I noticed that when I used that system with the older lenses on the DSLR cameras, I would always have to adjust my autofocus ever so slightly. I have noticed with the new Nikon D cameras over all 6 different lenses that I have, which are the Trinity lenses and a few primes, not a single one of them have been off on their focus. Every one of them have been exactly spot on their
Really?
focus.
Wow.
So, I can't speak for Canon or Sony. I don't shoot them, but that's something that you have to keep in mind as well, as far as keeping your eyes in focus. And the eyes really make the photo. And if you remember last week when we went to our JPBG meeting, my picture that I had of the old band that I took on our trip to Arizona, they had just done a Old West shootout reenactment, and the man was wearing a flat brimmed, it was almost like a bowler hat. But at first glance of the picture in color, it really wasn't much to look at. But by using creative editing and switching it over to a black and white and doing some creative dodging and burning, I was able to really draw that attention and that focus to the eyes. And I ended up winning first place in the portrait category last week. And everybody said it was the eyes.
That reminds me too, what we had talked about in an earlier video that we'd done. Again, know your kit, know your camera, get to know your camera, and get to know your autofocus, get to know that once you take your picture, how to be able to zoom in on your photo to make sure that the eyes are sharp before you leave. Once you get home, you can't retake that picture. So when you're still standing there and your model or whoever it is that's still right there, if you didn't get the eye in focus, go ahead and retake the picture. You can check it. It's so easy to check on the camera before you go home. So there's that.